What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a brand new Liverpool transfer news video, and we have so many news stories to cover for you guys. Just after I recorded and uploaded yesterday's video, Liverpool announced, or Paul Joyce, the Liverpool-based journalist, announced, who is very reliable, that Fabinho has been left out of the Liverpool squad, which flew over to Germany for pre-season training, and Liverpool are going to play a couple of games in Germany as well. But Henderson was included because Henderson and the Saudi Arabian club Al Ittihad still haven't agreed a deal for Jordan Henderson, and talks are still ongoing. That's the latest update by Fabrizio Romano. But first, we will talk about, does it make sense for Liverpool to sell Fabinho and who could be the big replacement signed, because I'm actually surprised that this has gone so quickly, and I think Liverpool didn't expect or didn't really want to sell Fabinho this summer. Nothing really indicated for that to happen, because Fabinho still has 3 years left on his contract, but he had his worst season out of his 5 years he spent at Liverpool, winning 7 trophies in total. Fabinho has been absolutely integral to Liverpool's success, but last season he had his worst season in his Liverpool career. And maybe the analytics team, the guys who are tracking the running stats and all the detailed analytical stats of all the Liverpool players, maybe the preseason tests on Fabinho didn't show any big improvement. And last season, even with Fabinho in the team, Liverpool conceded 47 goals. But there is a counter-argument to that apart from Alisson and Salah, everybody really had a bad season, Fabinho included. £40 million is quite a decent amount of money for a 29-year-old. The big problem for Liverpool is Fabinho is our starting defensive midfielder, and Liverpool now need to sign a proper, experienced, very, very good replacement, not just a kid like Romeo Lavia, even though Romeo Lavia is an absolutely brilliant player. So we will take a look at what kind of midfielders Liverpool are linked with. But this means that Fabinho being left out of the preseason tour means that pretty much Fabinho will be gone unless Al Ittihad's 40 million bid won't be accepted by Liverpool. But I think if Liverpool thought they are not selling Fabinho, they would have included him in the preseason tour. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and leave a like on this video. Let's get this video to 500 likes if you are excited about the latest Liverpool transfer news. And it looks like it's very, very likely that Fabinho will be sold. But defensive midfielders don't really rely that much on their physicality. Defensive midfielders like Xabi Alonso, Vieira, Makalele, they played well into their mid-30s. So Fabinho is definitely not a finished player. Maybe Liverpool wants to make other signings, and this 40 million goes a long way in Liverpool doing these. And maybe Fabinho also said that he wants to leave. That's the big question mark. We don't know internally what kind of discussions they had. It's very, very well documented that Jurgen Klopp doesn't want to keep any player against his wish. Coutinho in one summer said to Jurgen Klopp, I want to be sold, I want to go to Barcelona. And yes, in the end Liverpool kept him, but only for 6 months until we could find suitable replacements for him. But if Fabinho maybe privately told Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool that he wants to accept this deal, he wants to go to Saudi Arabia to earn like ridiculous, crazy amounts of money, and Jurgen Klopp thought, you know what, if you don't want to be here, then you might as well be sold. The big problem is Liverpool still need to add a lot on top of the 40 million pounds that we get for Fabinho, because these days 40 million pounds gets you a project player, if you like, a Romeo Lavia type of young player who you still need to develop and grow. And if Liverpool will start the season with Romeo Lavia or somebody of that caliber as their starting main defensive midfielder, Liverpool won't be challenging for the title. And I think that's what our aim should be. We signed brilliant midfielders, McAllister and Szoboszlai, but we need a proper, experienced, top quality defensive midfielder. So we will take a look in this video at who Liverpool could be targeting. And nobody is forcing Fabinho out. He probably wants to leave. That's the biggest indication that this comes from Fabinho's camp, because Jurgen Klopp planned the season with Fabinho in the team. And it was unexpected that Liverpool would get a bid for Fabinho and he would want to leave. But you can't really force players to stay at Liverpool if they don't really want. Overall, it's commercially very appealing because we paid just a little bit over £40 million for Fabinho 5 years ago, and with adjusted for inflation, his transfer fee was in today's market around £55 million or maybe even more. So it makes sense, this deal, to get 40 million for him. And you could argue Romeo Lavia probably had overall a little bit individually a little bit of a better season than Fabinho, and of course he has 1 year of experience in the Premier League, but it's a big gamble if you just rest your whole defensive setup on Romeo Lavia as the proper main defensive midfielder, the proper main starting player, because we don't know how well he could adjust to playing for Liverpool. Some Liverpool fans also are saying that if Fabinho wants to go to Saudi Arabia, he lost his hunger, and he also doesn't want to challenge himself to the absolute maximum because he adjusted his priorities. Maybe he thinks he completed everything at Liverpool, and I mean he did. You can't argue with that. He won all 7 trophies there is to win at Liverpool as a footballer, and maybe he just wants to cruise into the sunset with a big bag of money, and he doesn't really want to challenge himself at the very top level of English and European football anymore. Another Liverpool fan is saying maybe Fabinho fully knows that he is done at this top level, leaving Liverpool without making a big scene or being difficult. Maybe he's doing Liverpool a favor. That's another point of view that I thought it's worth mentioning to you guys. If you just look at the money side of it, we bought him for 43 million 5 years ago. Now we are selling him for 40 million when he just had his worst season. He has won everything and he has been out of form for the last 1.5 years, you could argue. We don't know if his form will come back to what it once was. We all hope it does if Fabinho stays, but there is no guarantee or certainty that it will. So keeping Fabinho is also a gamble. Selling him, at least you know what kind of money you get for him. And Jurgen Klopp seemed very happy in the pre-season training pictures, so maybe he knows that some deals are already being worked on at Liverpool, so he's not really worried for the new season. And Steve Nicol, former Liverpool centre-back who won a lot of trophies at Liverpool, he's working now as a pundit at ESPN, and he said it's interesting to figure out whether Liverpool, the coaching staff and Jurgen Klopp, when they all get together and talk about the players, whether Fabinho had a bad spell last season or whether his legs are truly gone and whether he can't really compete anymore at the very top level. The fact that they are willing to listen to offers for him, and at this stage with pre-season already started, tells you that maybe Liverpool think that Fabinho's legs have gone. This is what that tells me. If they can get 40 million for a guy who they aren't obviously desperate to keep him, if they are going to let him go, then take the money. Another aspect is maybe Fabinho told Jurgen Klopp privately that he wants to leave. He wants to get that big bag of money at Saudi Arabia, and maybe his family is ready for a new adventure and they just want to get even more rich, which seems obscene to me, because if you are a Premier League footballer for like 5 years, your kids don't get money problems, even your grandkids. But maybe this money with Saudi Arabia, maybe Fabinho could help his whole community back in Brazil. We don't know the personal situation. This is usually a family decision with Fabinho sitting down with his wife and all his relatives and talking it out. James Pearce, who is not really reliable anymore, he doesn't get any stories right because he has fallen out with Jurgen Klopp very publicly. But he is saying is that in terms of replacing Fabinho, Moises Caicedo is not viewed as a serious option because the Brighton midfielder is expected to join Chelsea. But why do Liverpool just accept that? Why not try to push ourselves into the negotiations, and why not get Moises Caicedo? It would be, of course, a very expensive, at least 70-80 million pounds, maybe even more, and maybe Liverpool don't think he's worth that much. But I think if we could ask Brighton what kind of price they are looking for, it's actually worth discussion. James Pierce is saying Romeo Lavia, Sofian Amrabat, Ryan Gravenberch and Calvin Phillips are among those under consideration. The only player who is good enough in that list, or who I want, is Romeo Lavia. Sofian Amrabat is not a Liverpool standard player. He's playing for Fiorentina. Ryan Gravenberch is not a defensive midfielder. He's the box-to-box midfielder, so that's not the type of profile that we are looking for. And Calvin Phillips is already injury-prone, 27, 28 years old, so again, not the kind of player that Liverpool would want. Melissa Reddy, who is a lot more reliable, she said Liverpool had been assessing long-term candidates to replace Fabinho. Profile mild shift as they will require to sign an immediate starting player. Among the names mooted have been Sofian Amrabat, Gravenberch, Calvin Phillips, Romeo Lavia, Moises Caicedo not on their list. So these journalists have been briefed the same names, which is really interesting, and it's a pretty underwhelming list. And I think most of those players on that list are smoke screens, because to be honest, no Liverpool-based journalist really linked us heavily with Szoboszlai. By the way, even more than 1 month before we officially signed Szoboszlai, I made videos on Liverpool being interested in Szoboszlai, but that came from foreign journalists outside of England. And I think this might be the similar scenario. Liverpool might just have a name up their sleeve, up on the cards, that no journalists really know about. But there are not a lot of defensive midfielders who would fit Liverpool's profile. The Benfica midfielder Florentino Luis, I think it's his name, he has been linked, and I will be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Benfica games, but he looks like a proper brilliant player. David Lynch is also saying that maybe Lavia and Sofian Amrabat could be the two replacements for Henderson and Fabinho. I would be happy with Lavia, but I think on top of Lavia, we would need a starting 11 defensive midfielder. Florentino Luis, who has a £105 million release clause, I think Benfica would negotiate for a smaller fee. I would go for him if he was available for like 50-60 million. Liverpool don't have money to pay to sign Lavia for like 40 million, plus on top of that a starter defensive midfielder. So I think if we want to replace Fabinho, we need one proper defensive midfielder, but he must be a banger. He must be good enough to be a starting defensive midfielder from week 1 in the Premier League. And even David Lynch admitted that the likes of Amrabat or Calvin Phillips or Gravenberch, mentioning these names, this could easily be a smokescreen for Liverpool. Saudi sources are saying that if Henderson goes to Saudi Arabia, his wages won't be £700,000 per week. It will be like probably double of what he earns at Liverpool. But because the wages are tax-free there, it's a little bit harder to guess that number. Henderson is earning £190,000 per week, but that's the gross earnings. The net earnings is probably closer to £100,000 per week. And maybe in Saudi Arabia he will get a net 400 or 350,000 pounds per week, which is still a lot more than what he's getting at Liverpool. Melissa Reddy is also saying that Lavia and Gravenberch have long been considered by Liverpool FC regardless of the current situation. We have been keeping tabs on them, and that we have been speaking to their representatives, their agents. Other players that Liverpool have looked at: Nicolo Barella, Kefren Turam, Florentino Luis, João Fabinho, Toan, Cop Miners. And Liverpool do love a surprising stealth signing. I would be happy with Lavia or Kefren Turam or Florentino Luis. João Fabinho, I don't think he's an out-and-out defensive midfielder, and Cop Miners, I don't think he's a Liverpool level player. And this is the problem with Liverpool, that you can never guess their next move in the transfer window, because they are moving with such secrecy and nothing really gets out. A Liverpool fan is saying, if you are a midfielder playing in Europe, Liverpool have been watching you. You have been warned. I love that. We have been watching all the midfielders in Europe. Of course, that's the joke, but maybe Liverpool's plan is to start Thiago in the base of the midfield next to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and we will play with three narrow defenders, Konate, Van Dijk and Andy Robertson. We will play Thiago ahead of them, and Trent slots into midfield. So we will have Alexis McAllister and Szoboszlai ahead of them, and of course the regular front three, Salah and Jota and Luis Diaz, or Salah, Jota and Darwin Núñez, or Salah, Gakpo and Jota. You know the combinations. And maybe Liverpool will want to do that, even though Thiago is not an out-and-out defensive midfielder and he doesn't have the physicality to be a proper destroyer there. With Trent slotting into midfield as well, that could ease Liverpool's problems a little bit. And so maybe that makes sense if we sign a young defensive midfielder and he doesn't have the immediate pressure of starting. But I don't think it's enough if we only sign Lavia, for example, especially if Henderson goes. If Henderson stays for some reason and we only sell Fabinho, then Henderson could be our starting defensive midfielder, even though I don't think he's good enough anymore to play that role, and I don't want him to start for Liverpool anymore. That's also a possibility. So let me know, what do you think about this whole situation. At the moment there is a lot of uncertainty, but I trust Jurgen Klopp and the Liverpool scouting team to figure this out and to sign the right kind of players to help Liverpool seriously mount a title challenge. Because I think in attack, going forward, in attacking midfield and in our forward line, we are good enough to challenge for the title. We just need to sort out the defense and the defensive midfield part of the team. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.